Good evening. Tonight we're going to be looking at how to make a quick little project using the MVC structure that we'll be using in class all year long. Of course, we're going to go ahead and make our project over here in Eclipse, and we'll right click and choose New, and then go to Java Project, and keep with our naming conventions so we can keep this inside a repository. We're not going to use any spaces, and so we'll just call this quick MVC Project. Say OK, finish that off. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to add packages for this. And so we're going to add 3 packages as we do this. The 3 packages are going to be reflecting the model, the view, and the controller that we'll be using to organize our code and to keep it within that MVC structure. Also, when we name our packages, we're going to name it so it has a reflection of the current project itself. And so we're going to call this quick.view. And we'll add our second package, excuse me. And we'll have this quick.controller. And finally, quick.model. As you can see, we have our 3 empty packages there on the left. And what we'll be using is the idea that we'll be sending information back and forth between the different packages and keeping them so they can organize our code and keep our code easy to read, as well as design bigger and better projects as we go along. So in the controller package, we're going to add the 2 classes we'll be using all the time as our framework classes, the first of which is going to be our runner. And we'll call this quick runner. And we'll put the public static void main in to start it off. Got our public static void main. Inside, we're going to do our standard structure. And so we're going to do our quick controller. App controller equals new quick controller. Or we create our object, call its constructor, and then we will do our app controller start, our opening method that we use for our structure in every single main that we will do all through the year in class. Save that, and we'll go ahead and make the class that will actually be going along with that. So new and class, and this is the quick controller object. And we'll give our constructor in here, and so it's going to be a public quick controller, open and close parens, matching squiggles, and our public void start method. So we have our structure right here. As you can see, we have no errors in the 2 classes. The constructor itself is right now empty. We have our start method that we'll use to call our methods that we'll use throughout the project just to get everything loaded up and ready to go. Again, with the idea of MVC, it's designed to do the organization and provide some structure of code. And the controller, what it does is that it owns a copy of the view as well as the objects that it needs to manipulate throughout the project. Right now it's not doing anything, so let's go ahead and make some stuff that it can actually have an effect on. So let's go ahead and we're going to go to our model. And we're going to add a file to that, and we're just going to make a quick class. And we'll call it quick thing. And we'll give it a couple data members. So we'll have a private string description and a private int count. Just a couple quick values to get that going. Make a constructor for it. Description is blank, count equals 0. We have a default constructor that assigns some values to it just to get it started. Doesn't do us that much good. And then we'll make a second constructor, one that will actually have values that we can use and provide some information into our project. And so a public quick thing, open and close parens, and inside there we'll have a string description, comma, and then int count. And we'll do the this.description equals description, where we pass the parameter from the method itself, or the constructor, into the value of the object using the this dot. So as you can see, the colors here match. Description matching description down here. Description under this dot description matching the blue description over here and in the declaration section as well. Same thing again with the count. We'll do this dot count equals count. And again, we'll take the value from the parameter of the constructor and assign it into the value of the object of its provided data member. So we're going to go ahead and create our getters and setters for this. And so we click up here upon the description and we'll move our cursor over that. We'll right click on it, scroll down to over here to source. Under source, we're going to use the shortcut method to generate getters and setters. We click on that. We want to select all of these. And instead of using these getter and setter pairs, we want to do getters first, then setters. That way we can see them in a nice little organized structure, putting them together. So we have after description. We want to put these actually after our quick thing using the constructor. Because we want to put our setters and getters after the constructor itself, because they're the first of our methods we'll be using in the project. And we just say OK. And as you can see, we have our getters, get description, get count, and then our two setters. These ones are void with a parameter of description. We'll use that same structure we did in our constructor. This.description equals description, and in the set count, this.count equals count, passing the parameter into the value for that object. Go ahead and save our project again so we have that ready to go. Finally, we're going to go ahead and do our view. We're going to go over here, right click, we're going to do it a new. We're going to make a new class, and we'll call this quick view. And in our quick view class, so we can keep that model view controller structure up here, what we have to provide first is we have to give a reference to our controller. The reference to the controller is going to allow us to provide information back and forth from the controller itself to the display, because the controller owns the display and can send information through it about the model and the various objects that are attached to the model package itself. So to do that, we first make a reference to our controller. It's going to be in our declaration section. It's going to be a private object, and it's going to be a private quick controller. Now I'm going to call it base controller for our standard name for everything we do in class, and a semicolon. And because you can see right here we have the red underline of doom, we need to actually import this because it's in a different package. Quick view is inside the quick.view package, but our quick controller is in the quick.controller package. So we move our cursor over this right here on the red line, gives us our pop-up menu, and we choose the option to import quick controller from the quick.controller package. Brings it right in. We have access to that. And then, so we can easily keep access to that controller, what we're going to do is we're going to make a constructor that has a reference to that controller we will pass. We're not going to create a brand new one. We're simply going to refer to the existing controller throughout all of our project. So we'll make a constructor so it'll accept a copy of the base controller as a parameter. And so we do public quick view, open and close parens. Inside the parens, we do a quick controller, base controller. And yes, just like we've been doing everywhere else, we're going to have the this.base controller equal base controller. And again, we're having the parameter that we're sending to the constructor assigned into the value for the object. That way we can send information about what's inside our controller without having to create copies of everything or references to everything inside our view as well. And then we can just click little methods, we can display information. And in this case, since we are going to be displaying information, we'll call it public for its visibility. Its return type is going to be void just to start everything off. And its method name will be display information. Open and close parens, squiggles, save. And now we'll be able to send information from what our controller has into this quick view. To test this out, let's just go ahead and use a quick little JOption pane. So we do JOption pane, and we'll do a show message dialog. Parens. And the first parameter will always be null for these projects that we're doing to start off with. And then we'll do some quotes around this, and inside the quotes we'll say our pop-up. Save that. And so what we have right here, again in our quick view, we have our controller reference, so we can talk to the package. We have our reference to the actual, that in our declaration section called base controller. We assign a value into the base controller right here using the parameter in the constructor, and then we just have a quick public information method that can cause a pop-up window to be displayed. So we've got those quick little pieces, all of them made. Now let's go ahead and link them all together. We're going to go ahead and go back to our controller object, and inside our quick controller, we need to now add our members that we have for our project. So again, the controller class is going to be, the controller package is the one that's going to be running everything, and so the controller class itself will have an instance of the view as well as any model parts that it needs to do reflections of the code. And so we'll go ahead and declare those right now in our declaration section. They're always going to be private, of course. And so we have private quick view, and we'll call this app view because it's a view of the application. Semicolon after that, and a private quick thing. And we can call it sample thing because we're just doing a quick little sample project. And again, both those provide the red underscores of doom because they are in separate packages. Quick views in the quick.view and quick model, or quick thing is assuming the quick.model package. So to solve that problem again, we just click over here, move our cursor over that, provide the import quick.view, and go over the quick thing and do the same thing again, but import quick.model. So now I've provided a reference to the libraries that attach to quick view and quick thing, and we have a reference to that. Our constructor, of course, is going to build our objects like it always should. And to do so, we'll make our app view is equal to a new quick view. And because we have that reference to the controller that is passed as a parameter to the constructor, what we need to do is we need to send a reference to this controller itself to that. And to do so, we use the parameter of this. This, again, will refer to the current object that we're using right now in code. And we just put that in there as this, quick view this. And as you can see, there's no compilation error. This code compiles immediately. We're good to go. Hit Control-Shift-F to save everything. And we'll add one more line of code. We're going to go ahead and make our sample thing. And so we'll say that sample thing is a new thing. Or actually, excuse me, a new quick thing. Open and close parens. Do a semicolon on that as well. And so we've created a quick thing object that we've made. Right now, obviously, it has nothing in there, but we'll go ahead and give it some information really fast. And we'll say that its name is going to be CTech. And its count, we'll do a class count right now of 60. So we have 60 people in our class right now, and our CTech is our name for our object. So that creates a sample thing right there. And to do something with this now, we actually have some references to it. So let's go ahead and let's make our start method, and we will call our display information on our app view. So we'll do this. We'll do app view dot display information, and that provides a semicolon. Just sends it right there. And that will simply right now just call our pop-up window. Let's go ahead and test that out. So we've made a bunch of stuff. We haven't used all of it yet, but we'll test it really fast. In order to start the project again, just in case we've forgotten, we have to first select our runner for it, because if we haven't already ran the project, it needs to know which project we're going to run. So we go ahead and select our runner from our controller package. Right here, quick runner. It's highlighted, as you can see. We have quick runner as our active window. We press the play button, or the F11 key if you're on Windows. We compile our project, we run. Quick runner started, as you can see, and we have our pop-up. Yay! We're good to go. So we've run that once, we don't have to do that again. So let's go ahead and let's do a little bit more with that. What we need to do now is we're going to go back ahead. We can close our runner because it's done. We've finished writing that completely. We're going to go back to our controller, and our display information right now is simply just saying that one information. We want to send information now about our object. And again, we have this controller right here that owns the view and the model objects. So we can use that to provide a reference to all of that. And so we can do that. We're just going to provide a reference to our thing out of our model package. And we'll just make a getter for that. And so we're going to go ahead and write that really quickly. It's going to be public because it needs to be seen outside of the class and the package. We are going to go ahead and call it a quick thing as a return type. And as using our standard naming convention, we'll call it get sample thing, where it's get in the name of the data member. Open and close parens because there are no parameters. Put our squiggles in, and our only line of code inside that will be return and sample thing. Semicolon. We save that, and we now have a method that can return that sample thing, and we can now use that to actually get information about the object we just made right here in our constructor after we create our quick view. So we'll go to our quick view right here. And in our display information, we're going to go ahead and add a line right here. And we're now, instead of simply going JOption show message dialog or pop-up, we're going to use information about that. Oh, just notice this. We have to make sure, of course, that we import java x.swing.joptionPane. Otherwise, of course, our JOptionPane is not going to show. We have to actually import that library so we can use that swing piece of information. So we'll go ahead and let's get information about our quick thing. So we're going to go to JOptionPane, show message dialog again. And again, we're choosing null because we don't have a component to hold this in. And our message is going to come out of our base controller. But we're going to put some information in first. So we'll just go ahead and do quotes. And here is a sample MVC project, comma, and a reference to the quick thing from the controller. Maximize this window, make it a little bit better. So we have our pop-up, we have a sample MVC project and a reference to the quick thing from the controller. And so let's go ahead and let's use that reference. So we'll do another JOptionPane. And we'll keep with the show message dialog. And these quick little pop-up windows, don't worry, they're pretty easy to do. We'll do some better stuff in a bit. We use null as a parameter because there isn't a component owner for them. They're just showing up on the screen. And then, here, excuse me. In the quotes, here is the quick thing, colon and a space, and then we're going to use our base controller dot get sample thing dot and get description semicolon. And we just have to add a little plus right here between the quotes and the variable. And so what we have right now is we're using that reference right here to base controller. It's going back to the controller because of that call right here. We'll do this dot base controller equals base controller. We then call the display information. We say our pop-up, here's our MVC. And then here's a reference to the quick thing. We're going to do base controller dot get sample thing. And from there we call the method on it to get its description. Let's go ahead and test that out. Go ahead and save and play the application. Here's our pop-up. Here's our sample MVC project in reference to the quick thing from the controller. And here's our quick thing. It's at CTEC. We have that reference that we wrote in our constructor of the quick controller right here. The base controller.getSample thing gets that object, and then we call the method on that object getDescription, which is now showed right there. And again, we have to use spaces after this because otherwise it just simply squished right together. Press OK, we're good to go. And let's do this again one more time to get the information of our count. Do the same basic structure. JOptionPane, show message dialog, parens, choose null as our parameter, and say our class count is, and then a space, quotes in, we do a plus sign to add to that string, and again we'll do base controller dot get sample thing, so we want to get that object. Notice how we end at the parens. After the parens we do a period, and we'll call get count. And so we're going to keep that same process. We have our first one just simply has a pop-up, our little description of what we're doing in our project. Then we have our thing, we have our reference to our base controller, we get the thing, we get the description on that, we add that to that string so it says here is our quick thing and that description. And our class count is, and then our class count. And finally, let's just put one last little message just because it's the end of the day. And we'll do JOptionPane, show message dialog, parens, choose null. Have a great day. Save that, and let's play this and make sure it all works. Here's our pop-up. Quick thing again about our project itself. Again, our reference to our description that we see right here in our code. get description and returns the value stored inside its description. Press OK, and our class count is 60. And as you can see right here, base controller.getSample thing, we get the count, and it combines the string with that integer value and stores it right there. And finally, have a great day. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys soon.